Okey Haji, dah boleh start ke? Okey, saya start broadcast saya. Asal Facebook live tak dengar suara. Orang kata Facebook live tak dengar suara. Tak dengar. Suara. Orang kata macam mana boleh dengar suara aku?
Safe and stay productive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yang Berbahagia Dato' Dr. Engineer NDCO. Exactly like what Dato' ND is mentioned just now. This is under the current scenario, this is total new norm for all of us, from the industries, whether the local authority, the technical agencies, or be with the developers, the consultants, and so on and so forth. I think we are hoping that today, let's find a recommendation and a supporting system as a win-win situation for the entire whole ecosystem. But let's look at the entire whole thing. What we call it today is the OSC Online 3.0 Plus. On the 20th of April 2020, during a temu bahas with Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri, this is the recording as what Yang Amat Berhormat PM is saying. Okay, as per Yang Amat Muhammad Perdana Menteri was saying just now, currently the e-government is only looking about 30 to 40%. And Perdana Menteri is also looking at we must, and he was mentioned that the government must enhance and much more fast pace on doing the entire whole e-government and making the entire whole digitalization of the government a reality. So let's go to our agenda for today's webinar. We just heard the opening remark by Yang Berbahagia atau Dr. Engineer Endisio. We're going to have our first panelist yang berusaha, Town Planner Zamrizan Puji, and the second panelist, Engineer Bashir Ahmad Maidin, and third panelist yang berbahagia, Arkitek Datuk Izumi Zahani Ismail. And the last panelist for today will be Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Teo Changkok. Then only we will go into the questions and answer session. By not delaying too far, right, let's start with our first panelist today. Okay, before that, just let me go through a little bit of the OSC 3.0 plus. As well as everybody aware, OSC 3.0 plus we have total 6 processes. That's from the collection of technical information to consideration of development plans, process 3, notification of commencement of work, process 4, monitoring of construction sites and notification of entrance inspection, process 5, notification of final inspection stage 1 and stage 2, and the process 6 will be the deposition of CCC, Borang F of F1, and also G1 to G21. And for today's session, I would like to highlight that we will be focusing on process 1 and process 2 only. So for process 3 to process 6, we are going to have our webinar on the following Monday, inshallah. And what Dr. Andy was saying just now. So please, all the attendees, please stay tuned with our next webinar session. They're going to be discussed in details from process 3 to process 6. So I hope that all the attendees, if you have any questions pertaining to today's webinar, please focus only on process 1 and process 2. All right. Our first panelist yang berusaha, Town Planner Zamrizan Puji. He is the Ketua Penolong Pengarah Kanan of Bahagian Perundangan Kawalan Permajuan Jabatan Kerajaan Tempatan KPKT. Cik Zamrizan, first to you.
Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sound check. Can everybody hear me very clearly, crystally? Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all of you, especially my counterpart and panelists. Also, not to forget our moderator, Tuan Haji Samsul. Thank you for inviting me to join this very fruitful, I hope, webinar. And also my counterpart panelists yang dihormati, Tan Sri Teo Changkok, and also Datuk Andy Sio as a co-chairman for the Pemudah, and also to Datuk A.R. Izumi. Hi Datuk, sihat Okay, and last but not least is I can say my old friend also, Engineer Haji Bashir. We have been met I can say a very long time or being involved in the DCP, the Dealing Construction Permit working group. All right, thank you very much again. Okay, my name is, as you know, my name is Town Planner Zamrizan Puji, and I'm now attached with the local government department, KPKT. Okay, first of all, I have to introduce that, of course, this manual OSC 3.0 plus. Just now we are discussing about this manual. Maybe all of us get confusing what is the manual is actually provided by us. Actually, it's not the manual for the system of OS Online. It's not for the manual. It's not the manual for the system. Actually, it's the manual, or maybe we can say handbook, or maybe we can say the guideline for the process and procedure that have to be followed or have to be obeyed by all the stakeholders, all the all the party that involved in the industrial scope of work, or and in the development plan scope of work. Yes, this manual actually we take about 2 years to provide it, to formatting it. Actually, we are enhance this manual from the current OSC 3.0. Actually, has been launched since 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And then we are getting the direction from the top management of KPKT to enhance or to review back the current OSC 3.0. And right now, as you can see, based on the approval from the cabinet meeting on November 11, 2019, and subsequently we bring or table this manual to the Majlis Negara bagi Kerajaan Tempatan on January 10, 2020. And everyone approved there, and and after that we managed to circulate this manual through all of the state government and local authority, and also to the department on federal level, as such as JKR, JPS, and JAS, and the related agency that pertinent to the OSC process and procedure. The KSU circular have been issued on 13 February 2020. So we in JKT, we in the federal level of government, hopefully can ensure all the state government and local authority to be implement this particular manual in order to get the uniform process and procedure to be deal with the all approval to be get from the local authority. The uniformity is very important in order to make all this requirement can be followed through all of the local authority in this country, especially in the Semenanjung of Malaysia. All right. Can we move for the second slide? Yes, as we all know, actually we are maintaining the 6 processes of OSC 3.0 since 2014 that has been introduced. But we are managed to make some amendment or some enhancement in order. Actually, we are deal with the important or agencies or stakeholders that deal with this development plan, such as the Pemudah. Also, we also table it on the TWG meeting, technical working group dealing construction permit meeting, and also we are discussing the matter with the lembaga architect, with the board of engineer, and also the lembaga perancang bandar Malaysia, and also the pertubuhan that govern the professional body. Actually, at the first stage of process 1, as we know, this was make some polemic that happened on the ground, especially when some of PBTs make it as a compulsory requirement when when the submitting person or developer doesn't carried out any technical collection, any collection of technical procedure in the ground, and without any approval or without any authorization letters or document from the whatever agency that related, the submission to the PBT on the counter cannot be allowed by the PBTs or by the locality. This was become some issue, and from that we are managed with the MPC also, with the group of TWG. We have some presentation with the former Ketua Setiausaha Negara, and luckily the Ketua Setiausaha Negara that looked this matter very thoroughly, and lastly he decided that this process 1, collection of technical information, was already not as a compulsory procedure that have been to followed. This was only actually this process we not eliminate as a whole, but the submitting person can do it as per required when you need some information, some technical information that need for your the design for the document that you have to prepare in order to submit the full documentation to the OSC or to the PPT in order to fulfill the requirement list in the document, list in the checklist that was prepared early in the manual OSC 2.0 plus. Therefore, whoever or any submitting person cannot fulfill the requirement that was in the list of checklist. The authority cannot be accepted unless you fulfill all the technical requirement, or not the technical, sorry, all the document, all the checklist in as per required. Okay, of course, and then we move to the next slide. Yeah, when we implement the OSC 2.0 since 2014, the process one, we are only focusing on the fourth technical agency, which is the Pihak Berkuasaan Negeri or State Water Authority, and then the TNB, the SKMM, and also the PTG or Land Office. But in this 3.0 plus, we decide that actually all of the related technical agencies have to be deal in order to get the technical information, because this is the important in order to fulfill the technical, to fulfill the document that has been listed in the checklist. For example, for instance, let's say the development need to be get the TIA report, for example. Actually, the TIA report, transport impact assessment, actually is the document that we have to get the approval from, let's say, from the JKR or from the local authority, which is the procedure, which is the requirement have to be done before the submission of the planning permission, for example. That is, we are considered as a technical gathering, the pengumpulan data or the technical gathering, because they are done before the submission of plan permission. The same goes to the IA report, environment impact assessment. The same goes to the LCP, laporan cadangan pemajuan. The same goes when you are to deal with the Jabatan Mineral and Geology in order to get the verification on the soil condition, which is when the JFG verified that the site, the soil condition is not need to prepare the soil investigation. Let's say, for example, yes, you can proceed with the submission without the soil investigation process. That is what has been said is actually the process that we have to do before the proper or before the official submission to the local authority. Therefore, when we reformatting or we enhance the 3.0 to the 3.0 plus, we decide that actually all the technical agency have to be deal by the submitting person in order to get the whatever technical requirement that to be used to design the plan or to prepare the document before you submit to the OSC. Okay, maybe can we proceed to the next slide? Alright, actually this one is for process 2. This is very common or very standard flowchart, which is but in order to deal with this process 2, we are preparing also the system for OSC online. But we have to we also to focus submission through OSC online before the MCO take into place. Actually, since 2010, the JKT or KPKT have been prepared one facility, once we develop one system, we call it OSC system online. From that particular system, we all the submitting person can register and got the special ID, and you can submit all the document or the application through the online system in order to get the consideration and approval from the local authority. And then after we enhance the OSC 3.0 plus, concurrently we also managed to develop the new system to replace the old system, which is as we know, the system we call it system OSC 2.0 plus online. From the time being, this OSC, the system only running by 10 PBTs in the whole of Malaysia. Alright. From the flowchart, actually the important thing that we are enhanced from the current or from the old version is we are increasing the numbers of technical agency to be issued the technical comment, which is we are increasing from 7 days to 14 days. And then we are set up the KPI or the key performance indicators to the local authority to bring or to table all the necessary or the related application into the Jawatan Kuasa OSC meeting at least 38 days from the day of submission. They was the KPI to the all local authority, but actually it according to the various of type of application, maybe for building plan or for earthwork plan is much earlier than 38 days. It depends to the type of the plan that you have submitted. But for overall, for generally 38 days is the KPI for all PBTs for all Jawatan Kuasa OSC to be seated and to deliberate to consider all the application. Either the decision is to approve or to approve with the plan amendment or directly to reject the application. And then we also managed to change or to amend the result of the Jabatan Kuasa OSC, the type of result from the Jabatan Kuasa OSC, the type of decision, which is we change the lulus bersyarat into to lulus dengan pindaan plan or approved with the plan amendment. Because this one actually when we still maintain with lulus bersyarat, it bring a new definition, new interpretation that the lulus actually the lulus bersyarat can be considered as the developer commence the work at the site. Actually cannot. When we get the approval or decision by authority, lulus bersyarat, actually you cannot commence any work at the site. That was become a problem into the local authority. Therefore, we managed to replace it from lulus bersyarat to lulus pindaan plan. Means we have to pindah the plan first, and then you table up again to the Jawatan Kuasa OSC, and when the Jawatan Kuasa OSC make the decision with proof, with full approval, and then only you can commence all the work at the site according to the approved plan. Okay, next. Please next slide. Okay, alright. Before I forget, maybe there is some question or some issue why after the lulus dengan pindaan plan we have to table up again in the Jawatan Kuasa OSC meeting. Yes, correct. If you realize, actually the legal power, the statutory power in order to give any approval to any plan submitted to local authority is PBT itself, is the local authority. Therefore, any decision made by Jawatan Kuasa OSC has been formed according to the section 28 of Akta Kerajaan Tempatan or Akta 171. the jawatankuasa have the power to make any decision, either to reject, either to lulus kepindaan, or either to approve approval. When certain or some application have been decided, for instance, let's say lulus dengan pindaan, actually the full approval not grant yet from the local authority. Therefore, based on the lulus dengan pindaan, the full approval have to get from the jawatan OSC in order to make sure all decision is aware by the jawatan OSC. One of the reason why we do that is to avoid the that we call it before. It's not very good actually, but I have to explain to you, all of you. If you can, if before this you can maybe we ever heard it's about the Little Napoleon. You know, the Little Napoleon, they had make their own decision without the knowledge of the jawatankuasa OSC. Yes, the issue have been happen in the local authority when the jawatankuasa have been made any decision, especially on lulus dengan pindaan plan. Let's say lulus dengan pindaan plan, the submitting person have to fulfill 5 syarat to be fulfilled. And then when they come to the jabatan, let's say jabatan perancang or jabatan bangunan or jabatan kejuruteraan, based on the whatever type of the plan, the jabatan cannot simply change the 5 numbers of syarat or adding any syarat in order to make the the application approved without consent from the jawatan OSC. This was happened. That's why when my colleague in jawatan kuasa OSC, in ketua OSC everyday community, yes, this might be will consume any the number of days when we prolong the process of the OSC. Yes, but in according to the law, all decision, the final approval have to made by the jawatan OSC, not by the department in the local authority, because that is not it contradict with the law have been stated in the one in the act. All right, next please. Can we move? Okay, this one is the process number 3, which is the notification of construction work. Why we use the term of construction? Because the notification of construction is consists two type of work. One is building work, and the second one is earthwork. Therefore, any developer or any submitting person have to currently submitted both of the notifikasi borang B, which is consists earthwork and also the building work, of course. And then submitting notification the borang B is through the OSC or OSC, and then the OSC or OSC have to circulate the document to the Jabatan Bangunan, of course, and then the Jabatan Kejuruteraan, and also the other agency that related to the Borang G in UUK 25, Universal Building Bylaw, in order to let them know the construction has been commenced, has been carried out, especially Bomba for Borang G, TND, the State Water Authority, the IWK, also the Majari for the Kelantan, and also the DOSH, Department of Safety, for the lift or for the escalator. Of course, JKR for the G17 and internal Department of Local Authority. And then also the notification is very important in order to know when your approval plan to be lapsed, or to ensure your approved plan get from the locality not to be lapsed. That's why the importance of Borang B in this process. Now we are moving to the process number 4, the notification of interim inspection. Actually, in the OSC 3.0 plus, we are managed to enhance this process number 4, which is we put the monitoring sites construction by the local authority and also the technical agency that has been related to the Borang G. This is important because as we know, when we are changing from the regime CFO to the regime CCC, there is no more obligation on the local authority in order to issue the CFO. Therefore, when we amend the Act 133, there was some additional obligation lying on the local authority work. There is the section, if I'm not mistaken, section 70 clause 20, 70 clause 23. There was an obligation to the local authority to make inspection, to do some inspection job at every single construction site, in order to make sure all the development, all the construction followed and obeyed the approved plan. If they fail to do so, the local authority have right to issue the written direction and also to the written notice toward the SP submitting person and principal submitting person to rectify back whatever the contradiction, and also to bar or to restrict the principal submitting person to issue the CCC unless they are managed to rectify back, remedy back whatever the contradiction from the approved plan. That was our intention in order to encourage the local authority and also the technical agency to do the inspection, site inspection, monitoring inspection from the beginning, from the start of the construction until the end of the construction, which is on the stage 5. That was the new amendment, the new enhancement in the OSC 2.0 plus. Okay, next slide. All right, this is actually for the stage number 5. Is not any changes that have been made on this slide. It's the same as before, or OSC 2.0, which is the stage of inspection. We set for this 2 stage. I think everybody is know why they have those 2 stages, Akhir 1 and Akhir 2. I think I don't need to explain further in this short of time. Okay, next, number 5. Yeah, so his next slide. Sorry, stage 6. All right. Yeah, this one, if you can see the last stage of the processing, it's not can consider as a major amendment, but in order to facilitate the PSP, principal submitting person, to deposit the CCC document to the local authority and also to the lembaga. For the time being, we have been told that Lembaga Architect Malaysia have been developed the online system to submit or to deposit the CCC. That's why from PSP no longer to deposit the CCC through the counter or OSC, and then they direct submit through the online to the lembaga. But I'm not sure for the Lembaga Jurutera or Board of Engineer Malaysia if there is some similar procedure or similar system that have been developed by the LAM. Therefore they can use the system, but if they don't have, I am not sure. They are still can submit to the OSC, and OSC will deliver the submission to the Lembaga Jurutera. Of course, the OSC will accept what the document have been submitted, deposit to the local authority and circulated to the Jabatan Bangunan. And I also take this opportunity to explain when when any development have been issued the CCC. Yes, it might be settled for the job of principal submitting person, but not for the developer, and also but not settled, not finished yet in the context of local authority, because this very important document to be used in order to in order to issue another process in the PBT, especially when you are processing the application for the licensing, for example, and also the local authority also use this CCC in order to make assessment for every each premises that has been used or has been issued by the CCC. So many process not settled yet in the local authority party. But maybe on the principal submitter they have been settled. But also for the developer also not settled yet in order to delivering the process of weapon possession, for example. That's why we are encouraged on this particular process to the PSP. If it's possible, you are advised to settle all the document with the local authority, settle document with the lembaga, and after that, you can settle with the owner or with the pemaju in order to make it in order to make it very clear in the process of CCC, especially in the PBT. But this is not for the man of only for the developer. This is only meant for the end user, especially for the buyer of the properties. This is several case that has been brought us to the court by the subpoena by the court in the issue of the CCC regime. But I'm not to explain what the case here. Maybe it will take the other time if we can have to explain whatever the issue. Okay, we can move to the next slide. Okay, this is to explain how we react when we are in the mode of MCO, and now we are in the mode of conditional movement control order, which is proclaimed by the government in order to make all the activity, especially on the construction scope of work, can be reinstated or can be resumed back in order to stabilize the economic point of view. All right. So my second phase of presentation will be have 5 content of presentation: objective, background, definition, and the last one is categories. Next slide, please. Of course, this as objective actually is meant for the 4 party that we deal with. Of course, firstly for the local authority, the technical department of agencies, and then the submitting person and principal submitting person, and also this SOP also we are prepared in order to concurrently or in order to inline with the OSC 2.0 plus that was I explained before. Actually, this guideline or this SOP objective is to guideline of processes and for submission, consideration of the development plan, and also the issuance of development plan approval, and also the construction permit within the MCO and the post MCO, especially for the CCC, and also the any related authorized letter or approval letter to issue the CCC, especially on the Borang G. Okay, next. Of course, I don't plan to explain detail on this kind of slide, but we are right now in the CMCO until June 9, 2020. Therefore, we are preparing this kind of SOP purposely for the MCO and post MCO. That's why we are right now here to discuss, to plan whatever the new norm that we can implement for those who involved in this construction industry. Okay, the definition also I will focusing on the establishment of 8 categories of application and development in the construction sector. All those the rest, one-stop center, applicant, and the technical department, you can read as yourself. No need to explanation. I will focusing on the establishment of categories. All right. As I mentioned, as I did mention before, we managed to develop the new system in order to replace the old system, which is the system OSC 3+ online. For the time being, we only run this system for the 10 PBTs in the whole country, which is three type of PBT Bandaraya, and then 6 PBT for Perbandaran and 1 PBT for daerah, which is from the north, Majlis Bandaraya Pulau Pinang, Majlis Bandaraya Seberang Perai, and then Majlis Bandaraya Ipoh. At the center, we have Majlis Perbandaran Subang, Majlis Perbandaran Kajang. At the east, we have Majlis Perbandaran Kuantan, and at the south, we have Majlis Daerah. Majlis Perbandaran Batu Pahat. Maybe I left one PBT, but I forgot already. Okay, we move to next slide. Okay, before that, actually, we have 3 phases of implementation the system. For the time being, yes, for the 10 PBTs. The rest, we are planned to ensuring that the implementation to be run by 44 PBT at the second phase, which is our target is on June this year. And then the last phase, which is a phase 3, will involving 45 PBTs, which is the end of this year. And hopefully, by the end of this year, we can running all of the PBTs in the Semenanjung to use this system in order to get to promoting the new normal, the new norm of this caused by the MCO. All right, as I mentioned, I will focusing on the 8 categories of application and development for the construction sector in the OSC's SOP. The number 1 is application for development plan has not been submitted before MCO. Yes, when MCO taken place, there is no local authority office to be open. Therefore, in almost 2 months, there was no submission, and there was no Jawatan Kuasa OSC running in every local authority. Therefore, when we prepare this SOP, we plan to resume back the activities of local authority in order to allow any application to be made through the online system, because actually almost 80 to 90% of local authority got the facility, as I mentioned, the previous OSC system online, and the latest one is system OSC 2.0 online. All right, and then we move to the second category. The official application has been accepted, but still not tabling in the OSC committee meeting. Therefore, we are encouraging the local authority to carry out the Jawatan Kuasa OSC meeting, either but in the manner of online meeting. We are not encouraged to do the normal meeting, which is all the committee will come to the PBT and sit in the one room, and then without the social distancing or mass gathering happen. That's why we are encouraging the OSC meeting, the local authority to deal to promoting or to carry out the online meeting in order to make any consideration and decision on the application. Yes, we managed to make some survey since last week through all the 96 PBTs in Semenanjung, and I can share the slide, but maybe I can read it. What our finding in our survey, in order to encourage the PBT to running or to carry out the meeting. Based on the 96 PBTs, this data is we are collected from last week, and then until yesterday. From the 96 PBTs, 10 10% of PBTs have been running the OSC committee meeting, which is Ipoh, Seremban, Subang Jaya, Ampang Jaya, Kelang, Jasin, Batu Pahat, Jerantut, Kuala Selangor, and Perak Tengah. And the other hand is 29% of PBTs will running hopefully in this week or next week to running the Jawatankuasa OSC, which is consists of 29%. And then the rest is the bigger numbers, 61% of PBT not prepared yet to carry it out or to do the online meeting. And then next week we will make the second phase of survey, and we hope the numbers can be increased from the 10% to the to a satisfied number lah, that we hopefully all the PBTs will running this online meeting. In term of the application, as varies actually. 5 PBTs using the WebEx, 2 PBTs using the Zoom, and 1 PBT using the Zoom Cloud for meeting, and 1 PBT using Google Meet, 1 PBT using GoToMeeting, and lastly 1 PBT using the Skype for Business. Skype for Business actually is encouraging by our KPPA or by federal government using the Skype for Business because the percentage of safety in order to not leak any information that can be disclosed in the meeting. Okay, and then we move for the item 3 or the categories number 3. The application was given consideration in the OSC committee with the full approval. This was in line or due to not opening the activity for the local authority. Because that was the cause that the full approval document cannot be released. Therefore, we are encouraging the encouraging the local authority to release or to issue the full approval that has been considered in the meeting. All right, and then the next categories, which is the application was given a consideration by the OSC committee, but the result of approval with amendment. This also we will give the opportunity to the submitting person, to the principal submitting person, to working in order to comply or the syarat or the condition to be amended, to be fulfilled in order to get the full approval. We move to the category number 5. This one is development that has received all development plan approval but has not made commencement of work on the notification or borang B lah. Okay, this make big implication when some of the developer or the development cannot be make any notification to the local authority. It will cause the lapse of the approval plan. So we are encouraging the local authority maybe to renew or to extend the approval time without the application by the developer or with the application by the developer, but that one of the incentive that can be given to the every developer if the certain approved plan have being lapsed in the period of MCO or CMCO. All right, moving to categories number 6. The development that has submitted COW, commencement of work notification, and construction works was carried out, but in order to bid with the MCO or CMCO, the construction has been stopped. Yes, and then we are allowing it to be happen right now, especially when the company get the release letter or proof letter from the MITI, which is considered as within the 13 subcategories in the construction scope of work. Okay, we move to the category number 7. Development plan has development has made physically progress at 90 to 100% and ready for the issuance of CC. Yeah, this is focusing on the site inspection actually for person number 5, stage 5. When the MCO or MCO taken into place, they will no any inspection or will any physical inspection on the site. Therefore, cannot be issue any borang for supporting of CCC. This also our incentive to allow them to make some inspection in order to fulfill the Universal Building Bylaw requirement. And then last but not least, the category number 8, the development completed with the final inspection and the CCC document were fully completed, yet to deposit CCC activity. This is only to submit or to deposit the CCC, but due to lockdown, due to the close of operation of PDT, we are now reopen back to those who can submitted to deposit the CCC to the local authority. Okay, we move to we move the next slide. Yeah, this one is actually the important notes that have been to be followed, have been to be complied by the all party have related to the construction. I don't think I will be running from 1 to number 8, but we are focusing on number 5. Metis approval letter is received. That was one of the conditions that you can be resume back at the construction work. But now when we are when we are in the CMCO period, actually the Metis approval are no longer required, but the company or the related parties have to register to acknowledge the Metis that you are now resume back the work. And then also the number 7, actually now there is no longer take effective. Actually now of every work that are relating to the construction work can be done, can be resumed back. So there's fine number 5 and number 7 is no longer in place. But for number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 6 and number 8, there are the certain SOP to be fulfilled, to be obeyed by the party that running the construction. All right, next. Yeah, this one maybe the last slide that I will to present, which is the effective date. Actually, the SOP is effective immediately when we are issuing it. I think on 30 April last week. And I personally, on the behalf of KPKT and especially JKT, we urge. We cannot force them. We are encourage local authority and state government to implement our SOP in order to start our new norm, especially to resume back or restate back our economic point of view in order to those of stuck in the period of MCO can be resumed back all the works. From that word, I think I completed my presentation, and I back to moderator Haji.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bruce. Town planner, Zamizam bin Buji. Thank you so much for your explanation. We heard that you were frequently using the word encourage the local authority to do a lot of steps. And it also stated in your last explanation that you're saying that on the federal government side, you cannot force them to do it. You can only encourage and urge the local government and also the states to adhere to the guideline and to open up. And we hope that in the next 1-2 weeks, the 10% will be increased a lot more to resume back the entire whole economic system. And also for all the attendees out there, okay, we're going to have a survey shortly, right after the entire session. Okay, they're going to have 4 questions that we would like your participation. Question number 1. are you able to gather all information through discussion or gazetted document from the PPT or the technical agency for the purpose of KM or BP submission? Is it a yes or no? Question number 2. Do you think BPTs, technical agency, and the service provider should start processing and commenting submission via OSC online? This is, we are talking about commenting the drawing, the processing, pure over the soft copy over what we have submitted on the OSC online system instead of depending on the hard copy. Question number 3. This is also on process 2. Okay. By the way, the P1, P2, we are referring to the process 1 and process 2. Question number 3 also relates to process 2. With the OSC online system, do you think hard copy drawings and documents to be submitted for final endorsement only? And question number 4, this is also relates to process 2. Do you think processing fee, contribution, etc. to be paid via online in order for question 2, which is the comment, the start processing and commenting to take effect? We all understand that until the applicant have paid paid over the counter with the proper receipt, that only the entire whole processing will start. So this is question is relates to the question number 2. So do you think that processing fee and all the contribution to be paid via online will be much better process? Please, this will be the 4 questions that we would like your participation. And for all the attendees over the Facebook Live, you could also please put the question 1, 2, and question 3 and 4. Just put yes, no, and so that we can also tally the feedback to the working group. Thank you. Next, let's invite Engineer Bashir Ahmad Aidin, BEM Professional Practice Committee from Board of Engineer Malaysia, to present his slides. Engineer Bashir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yang bahagia Dato', yang bahagia Tan Sri Teo, yang bahagia Dato' Andy Seo, yang bahagia also Dato' Izumi, dan juga my good friend, Lena Zamizan. And also, before I start my presentation, I will thanks all of you for inviting me for this presentation. So at least I can share some of my opinions or my idea for the benefit of the country. Okay. So to start with this presentation, so because we have been given the topic mobilization of OSC digitalization under new norm. So what we are talking about is towards go for digital, all right? So we have been always doing our work, okay, before this by using manual. Most of the time when we do the submission, we are talking about physical submission with paper submission. So now we are going towards for the digital because of the this COVID-19. Actually, COVID-19 also give a lot of a lot of new way of doing things. Because before this, when people talking about video conferencing, they said, "Oh, this is not norm to us." Okay, we always like go for meeting, physical meeting, and so on. But with this COVID-19, everybody realized that. Okay, because of MCO, we cannot go out, we cannot meet people. So things have to go on. Things have to move on. Okay, especially on the business side. For the business, every single day you are not doing things is money for us. All right. So as an engineer and also as a person who involved in business, we know that every day we are losing. So we can't afford to continue to lose. So because of that, we need go for digital, so that with digital, things are going move forward, right? So before I go further, I just want to give some idea on what is digital transformation, okay? So digital transformation is the integration of digital technology in all areas of lifestyle, and business. Because why? If you don't want to change our lifestyle, we can't afford to go for digital transformation. Okay, fundamentally change how to operate and deliver value to the customer. Especially in our case is we are talking about PSP and SP. Because our context today is we are talking about submitting plans, okay, on the development, how to get things moved for the construction. Because most of the thing we are talking is how to make sure that the construction is keep on moving. So it is also a culture change, okay? Culture change that's required organization to continue challenge to the status quo, okay? So why is very important? Because most of the investor, they come to our country, they come to the locality is just to bring their money to invest and to give the benefit for the country. So if let's say things is not moving, okay, so the business always not happy with what things happen. That's why it's very important. If we want to transform, we must also change our culture of doing things. All right, and also we have to go to the experience and get the comfortable for the failure. As we know, whenever we go for digitalization, we always face a failure. Maybe, for example, like you're talking about online submission, some of the things we need to improve, need to go forward. We need to do more experience, more experiment. So because of that, we have to face, or we have to be, accept the failure, whatever failure, and go for improvement. So that's why this is a very important for us, okay, especially in our country. We are a developing country. We need to go forward. We cannot go backward, okay. We have to catch up with other countries, especially around our country, especially Singapore, okay, Indonesia. So we have to go forward on this digitalization. Okay, next slide. Okay, since I'm been given the task of the task for today, we are focused only for process 1 and 2. Okay, so before this, I've already discussed with my colleague Dato' Izumi. So let us break into two portions. I will focus more on data gathering, and then Dato' will focus on the process 2. Okay, why data gathering is very important for us? Okay. For engineer purpose, for the engineering perspective of view, because if let's say we want to go to the drawing board for engineers, we need data for design. Without data, we can't afford to go for a proper design. So that is the main reason why when the OSC 3.0 been developed in year 2014, there is a good session between the KPKT and also the stakeholder, especially engineer, architects, and so on. So we have a further discussion on this matter, on this how to make our submission right at first time, because we don't want to have a repeating submission. Okay, so when we submit through OSC, we must make sure that our submission must be at least 99.9% perfect, so that when we go to submission, straight away, the submission will be one piece flow. Okay, it's not rebounds back because of insufficient of information. So that is the reason when the KPKT come up with OSC 3.0, the first important things we highlighted to KPKT at that point in time is we want data. Okay, especially data which is live data, it's not static data. Why I tell that this is a live data? For example, I give example for the water service provider. When we want to design the water reticulation, okay, we need to know where is the tapping point, what is the pressure at that point of location. Okay, if we know the pressure, we know the location, then only we can design the water reticulation, the layout, and so on. If let's say we have to lay the cable, we have to lay the pipe 3 kilometers or 10 kilometers away from our construction site, maybe we said, okay, we stop because of the budget. We have a problem, so that we are not going for this project, or we stop the project because of this. But if we cannot get the data, after we prepare everything, we come up with proper drawing, planning drawing, all the architecture drawing, suddenly when we submit, the agency come back to us and said, sorry, if you want to proceed with this project, you have to lay the pipe maybe 3 kilometers, which is very costly for the developers. So because of that, this data is very important for the designer before they proceed. Okay, same goes to the TNB. Okay, because when we want to come up with any development, we need a power supply. Without power supply, we can't move forward. All right. So what happened if we don't know whether TNB can supply us or not? So that is a problem for us to come up with a drawing. Okay, there are some cases whereby when we come out the design without considering that TNB requirement, we come up with a drawing, we prepare all the planning layout and so on. Suddenly, when we submit through OSC, they come out the comment, okay, your approval can be approved with condition. The condition is you have to come up with a substation, which is costly for the developer. Some developer, they can anticipate, but some developer, they say, for example, like as SME developer, they want to construct a small factories or small warehouse. Okay, for them, it's very costly. All right. So that's why we need the information before we go to the drawing board. Same also for the SKMM. The issue of SKMM is because we need to know the tapping, because there are some incidents whereby when the developer submit the submission, SKMM come back to us. They said they especially the NFP. They said I cannot provide the supply or the telecommunication line because that particular area we are not be there. We are not there. Because of that, we have to invest maybe 80,000, 100,000 just to lay a line, telco line for us to develop. So all these things is very important for us. Okay, that's why when KPKT come up with 3+, so yes, there is an element of data gathering, but the problem is the data gathering is not compulsory. Whereby, if you ask the point of engineers, it's important for us to come up with a design. All right. So this is how we have to think forward, how to make things easier to get the information. All right. So I don't want to touch further about this the PTG and so on, but I just want to focus in the engineering perspective. Okay. So because of that, okay, this is what should agency do for the process 1 since OSC 3.0 established in 2014. Okay. When the OSC 3.0 started, yes, of course, at that time, we are not talking about digitalization yet. We are talking only for manual submission. Okay. So, if not mistaken, at that point of time, when we submit to the agencies, especially TNB, SKMM, Water Agency, and so on, so they earlier they commit that they can reply within 14 days. Okay, which is for the submitted person, we have no problem about that. But the issue is when along the way, things are not doing well because the time from 14 days extend to 1 month, sometimes 3 months, we cannot get the information, especially water agency. Okay, water agency. So because of that, we are facing problem. So due to that, then another issue what happened is when this data gathering is being misconception by the other PBTs or local agencies, whereby they include their requirement as part of the submission. I think Planner Azamizan did mention also before this. They said instead of data gathering, they put as a pre-consultation. That means you have to go to every agency to discuss with them how to do the submission. Okay, so this is the problem happened before this. So due to that, that's why when we talk about data gathering, is actually data which you cannot get. I mean, from other place except that particular agency. All right. For example, if you want to information for water, you have to go to Shabas or Ais Selangor or whatever. Okay, you cannot get from other place. All right. So that's why when OSC 3.0 been implemented, we only focus the technical agency which need to share the data to the designer or PSP for them to work for the submission. It's not the data or it's not the information that we need, which is available in our regulation. Okay. For example, like for building department, you can go for a building plan, building act, and so on. But this one is a live data. The data is keep on changing from day to day. If there is a development today, they said they can supply. After the development will be taken out by other developers, then the data is keep on changing. So that's why we need to go back to them. Okay, I just want to share some experience whereby in Auckland Council. Okay, so I mean, as far as our concern as a submitting person or as an investor, what we want is this technical information should be digitized. This is very important because we don't want to have a physical contact to get the information. If let's say we still go on with physical contact, the delay will come to the picture. Okay, there definitely will be delay from 14 days to 1 month and so on. That's why since 2014, by right, somebody have to emphasize this to make sure that all this technical agency is work seriously on this. Okay, if we want to move 100% to digitize, definitely we need all this information to be digitized. Okay, so as what I mentioned just now, last year, if not mistaken, a group of us went to Auckland Council. We saw how they digitize the information. Okay, they use geomaps, whereby you can access it anywhere in the world. All right, to get the information for the power, to get the information for the water and other things also. Okay, in terms of zoning and so on. So it's very easy for the investor. If let's say they want to go for any development before they purchase the land, they know what is available at that particular locality. Okay, so they can design, they can think about the investment, whether worth to invest or not. If they think worth to invest, then they can proceed. If not, they can stop there. So this is what we are looking forward. Okay, so I think this session today, we are focused how to mix Malaysia at par with other country in the world. Okay, so the next slide, what we are talking about is still OSC 3+. Okay, so I've been mentioned just now. Okay, other than I think the way I'm trying to say is not blaming 3+ or whatever. Just to give my opinion, okay, why I say other technical information, for example, like JKR, JPS, LM, okay, actually it's not important for the pengumpulan data maklumat, technical or data gathering, because all this information is more on design expert. They know what they should do, okay. But for these 3 or 4 items which I mentioned just now, the information is actually we need for the design, and that information can change from time to time. Okay, for example, like today you can tap from, for example, if you are talking about water agency, today you can tap from pipe A. If you go next month or 3 months later, they say, oh sorry, this pipe C is already occupied by other development, so you have to lay new pipes. So this kind of thing which we cannot get it on the shelf, you have to get from the agency itself. So what is my suggestion is, if let's say they are not prepared for the geomap and so on, they still can go for online. Okay, we can submit through online, through OSC online, and they reply through online within certain period. But if let's say we go to the counter to get all this information, so definitely delay will come in the picture. So this is our concern. Okay, so okay, next slide. Okay, so another thing which I would like to highlight is there is some issues when we did for this OSC 3+, because the procedure SEMAC document, the scope of checking need to be clarified and stated in the manual, because this is not stated in the manual. We have an experience whereby when we submit through OSC 3+, and what we foresee is there is a rejecting form. Okay, they reject not because of insufficient of document, but they check through the drawings. By right, OSC should not check the drawing. This is the idea of OSC 3.0, which been discussed earlier last time. Because when we go for submission, the counter cannot reject our application. The counter should accept as long as we follow all the checklists. Okay, the checklist must be transparent. The checklist must be proper formatted. Then, when we submit according to the checklist, the OSC counter shouldn't reject our submission. But what happened? Okay, this is what I'm talking about our experience on OSC 3+. They reject over the counter. Reject at the OSC stage 3 times, and each time we need 7 days. So total 21 days we cannot submit because at first level it's been rejected. So I think this is what we have to look forward to improve lah. Not to say maybe the officer in charge, they don't have a proper guideline and so on. So maybe they use their previous experience how to reject the submission. So maybe what we can do in way forward, we can improve this. Okay. Same also goes to the ulasan technical. Okay, which is most of the time the standard long list. Okay, cut and paste done by the technical agency, because what most of the authority or local officer or PBTs, they have the time frame to work. Okay, so and then on top of that, they also have other commitment to settle their work. Because of that, they have no time. We just take a previous submissions comments. You just cut and paste, change the title, and then push back. So this is our experience. So maybe what we can see is we come up with a proper guideline how to do the checking for the plan. Okay, which they should do and which one they shouldn't do. So all these things, JKT have to come up with some manual guidelines for the officer to check. I understand. JKT, KPKT have very difficult to control all the PBTs in Malaysia. We understand that, okay? Because each PBT, they have own way of doing things. Even though OSC 3+, if you ask me, is one of the innovation done by JKT. It's good actually. From 3.0, we go to 3+. But the problem is on the ground, things not happen. Okay, so sometimes I pity also to Planner Zamizan. A lot of question been thrown to him about why PBT do like this, why PBT do like that. But what we are trying to do, what we are trying to say is, if we can work together, okay, we can work together, come up with some solution on this. If this cannot be settled, our digitalization until now or in future also it cannot work. Okay, it's a lot of problem on the ground. Okay, next slide. Okay, to close my discussion today, okay, because I don't want to take time too long, because now also it's almost 12 o'clock. So moving forward for this OSC 3+, okay, we are talking about mobilization of OSC system. So how to move forward? Okay, so what I can highlight here is we must move forward from business as usual attitude towards new culture. This is not only for the public sector, also goes for the private sector. Okay, all of us, all the stakeholders must change the attitude from business as usual to the new work culture. New work culture means what we are doing today is actually one of the new work culture. So don't ever give excuse. I'm not in the office, I cannot do things because I'm outside of the office. So this is always our normal statement. Okay, if you want, you come to see me tomorrow. So this one we have to change. Okay, even though in our car also we can do things. We can send message, we can send statement or whatever. So this is what we hope that. Okay, all parties must be present and active to achieve goal. All right. So whenever we have ideas or whatever things, must be present and active to come up with a solution. All right. So this goal is not for us; it's for the country itself. All right. All instruction and document must be standardized and also formalized. This is a lot of lag currently. some of the document is not standardized. You go to one PBT and to go another PBT, all upside down, and then some of them is not formalized. Some of them is based on the experience. Some of them is based on the instruction given from the high level. Okay, so whatever things we must make sure that if we give instruction, that instruction must be formalized and can be implemented whenever we go anywhere. Okay, not only for that particular locality or authority. And then even in innovation thinking and adoption of new technologies. As we know that today, every day in technology is evolved. Okay, so we must go forward, move forward for the new technologies. Even though if you have to go for technologies, of course we have to spend some money. We have to invest. So we hope that the government, especially Pemudah, to play the role. Okay, try to find monies for the new technologies, because we can't afford to wait anymore. We can't wait and see other countries moving forward, but we still at the status quo is still waiting. So I don't think so that is the best. We should go for innovation, all right, for the move forward for the benefit of, for all of us. And then finally, but not least, different point of view must be accepted to finally converge the consensus for national agenda. So hopefully with this forum or this discussion today, all right, we think positive. Okay, we get all the ideas from all the panelists and also the participants, so that we can work together. We give more ideas, more views for us to improve for our country. Okay, so with that, I finish my presentation. So thank you. I hand over back to the moderator, Tuan Haji Samsul Arman. Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayah Bashir. We know that the time is ticking, so let's not stop it here. Let's invite Yang Berbahagia Architect Dato' Izumi Hazani Ismail, board member of Lembaga Architect Malaysia, as well as the PAM past president, to continue the processing on the presentation. Dato', please.
Okay, good afternoon and Assalamualaikum. I think I only have just a few minutes to run through the slide. This session is supposed to be more on discussion, panelist discussion, so I just quickly raise a few issues, concerns of the public, especially the industry players during the MCO. Because some of the project that has been submitted before, like what Cik Samita mentioned just now, actually is not being processed due to MCO, because there is no meeting and no back office operation. And some of the officers working from home also actually they do not have access to the office server, so that they cannot evaluate or process the plan. And of course, the number 4, one of the issues with the current situation is that when involved with payment, the applicant or submitting person need to go to the counter, make a payment, then go back to the office to scan the receipt and only proceed with the online submission. And lastly, we know that we have a lot of opportunity today with the current technology. We have we can conduct online meeting, we can process plan virtually through the online, and we can also communicate through email, WhatsApp, and any other platform. But this platform has been used informally, but not formally in daily working environment. Next slide. So the next slide. So I will try to share some statistic also to see how the implication of the MCO to the plan approval process. Okay, these are the statistics. Okay, from 2007 until today, the total number of submission is more than 600,000. Okay, but my concern, our concern, basically those in the first row, which is dalam process, mean that currently under the process of the technical agencies and local authority, we have about 15,000, and shockingly, 9,000 plus 9,090 are in the process of issuance of CCC, which probably related to the inspection and issuance of the clearance letter. So if building is already completed, but we still stuck with the process of issuing CCC, and there are 9,000, which is a big number, I think this is a very important issue that we have to look into it. Next slide. Okay, Shamsul, can you proceed to the next slide? Okay, the next slide, I want to show the impact while waiting for the slight delay. Okay, so this is a projection. If you look at the data from KPKT from 2015, 16, and 17, every year, depending on approval, is about 12,000, and the projection for 2020 also around 12,000. Building plan approval around 17,200 projection this year. But CCC, the number actually growing from 2015, 16, 17, and projection for this year 9,500. If you look at the current, which is under processing now, it's already 9,090. So about 25% of this project anticipated will be affected due to this MCO, which is about 3,000 planning approval, 4,300 building plan, and 2,375 CCC. Altogether, 9,700 projects will be affected. So we have to do something, plan something during this MCO, even post-MCO. So this is how the statistics, some of the PBT, I think 10 of the PBT actually already implemented OSC 3 Plus online, but we can see the number of projects submitted via online has dropped tremendously during March and April. So we have to look into what are the solutions that we have to implement to make sure that everything is going back to the normal so that we can have maybe a better and faster rate. Okay, so this is the overall process too. Okay, Haji Bashir just now share part of the process. Can proceed to the next slide. So this is what I want to discuss today. I think OSC 3 Plus is a new system that's supposed to be implemented for the whole entire country, and currently started to be implemented, and then pilot project for OSC Online already started. But due to the pressure of current pandemic, I think we have to accelerate the process of transforming from the conventional submission to digital submission. So this is what the submitting person actually not aware. This is what is happening behind the scene at the back office. After the plan was submitted, what has been done or what is supposed to be done by the technical agency and the department to process the plan. So from the chart from OSC 3 Plus manual, I noticed that from the process of receiving the drawing to distributing the application to the agencies and department, it will take about 2 days. Okay? Because this is based on the manual submission. And then later, another 6 days after the 14 days for processing, for giving the technical comments and recommendation, another 6 days to prepare the paper, the working paper to bring to the meeting. So in my view, if we can digitalize this process, so if everything can be done online, submission is through online, the same submission document can instantly be shared with all the agency. So the technical agency department can see instantly. You don't need to distribute the hard copy to each and every department. So that will save the process easier for the authority technical agency to process it. Next slide. Okay, so next slide. After the preparation of the kertas perakuan, then you're supposed to bring to the mesyuarat jawatan kuasa OSC. But before that, there's process for pra jawatan kuasa OSC, which require another 1 day. Why this meeting is required for pra jawatan kuasa OSC currently? Because requirement to coordinate the information and the comment from all other technical agency and department, and sometimes they need further information or more information from PSP and SP. So this need to be coordinated before it was tabled in the OSC. All this coordination actually can be done via online. We may not use to online discussion, online meeting, but I think in future, this is our golden moment to take this opportunity to do this discussion and coordination via online. So with online discussion, we probably can skip this because it can be done whether it's an online meeting or through updating the information to the portal, OSC portal, which is already available at the moment. Currently, OSC online system, which is already available, and OSC 3 Plus online also available at 10 selected BBTs. And then the next one to bring to Mesyuarat OSC. So even Mesyuarat OSC now, I think now, Jade Zaminsan just highlighted just now, about 10% currently doing the OSC committee meeting online, and about 20% plus is now planning to do it, and 61% actually still not sure whether want to do it or not. So I think we have to seriously look into this, and we need to resolve this problem because this pandemic may not end within these few weeks. So recently, the Prime Minister also announced the extension of CMCO for another 4 weeks, and probably in future there will be more extensions. And the other thing is that if we look into this digital possibility and digital opportunities, there are many processes and procedures can be avoided or can be removed. For example, okay, if we have lulus dengan pindaan, yes, I think Tam Panel Zaminsan mentioned that after lulus dengan pindaan, approval with amendment, you need to go back to the jawatan kuasa OSC to prepare kertas perakuan and go back to jawatan kuasa OSC for approval. It will go back to the cycle again. But I think the original intention when this was presented to KSN last time basically to give fast approval. So if the building, the design or the planning actually comply with most of the main requirement, planning requirement and building requirement, and the committee decide that this can be approved, then we can give approval with amendment to the building plan. So it means that the building can be approved, but the submitting person need to prepare for amendment and to submit later to the OSC for record, say that, okay, this correction has been done, this amendment has been done. But from the date that they obtain approval, they are supposed to proceed. They can proceed with the work. They don't have to go back to OSC. There is another improvement that is possible for us to look into it. And other than that, okay, for example, if we are using OSC online meeting, for OSC online meeting, there are many other things that can be improved. And then the last one, okay, you see the last one for documentation. After the decision was made by OSC that the plan is approved, the documentation process still require another 14 days. So this including to chop and stamp and sign the plan. Sometimes the number of copy of plan is a lot for the YDP or the mayor to sign all the plan. So from this diagram, you can see that 7 days for documentation and the 7 days to process the approval, which is to chop and also to sign. So 14 days required here. I think if everything is online, it is possible to do a digital signature, digital stamping without hard copy. You don't need to sign on the plan, but the moment it's approved at the meeting, automatically, digitally, it can be endorsed on the digital copy, probably the PDF copy, digital copy of the submission plan, and return to the PSP, say that your plan is approved with digital remark and printed on the soft copy. Okay, next slide. Okay, I think roughly what I mentioned here is only on process 2, because on process 3, 4, and 5, we will have the following session after this. Pemudah will discuss on that process 3, 4, 5, and 6. But today, what we want to discuss process 1, the data gathering. Process 2 is only up to building plan approval. So are we prepared to face the new normal? Because we cannot hope on the conventional way of business as usual may not work in this future, even in this under current situation with a lot of restriction of movement and also a lot of restriction for gathering. Okay, next one. I think this is the last slide. So the next one, I just want to suggest that I think we need to change not just the way we do things, but we have to change the mindset as well. Not just the private sector, but the public and private need to work together. So thank you very much. Okay, back to you, Haji Samsul.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Izumi. As we heard from all the technical professionals, we have the representative from KPKT, we have from the architect as well as the engineer. Right now, let's invite Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Teo Chiang Kok, the co-chair of Pemudah Technical Working Group on dealing with construction permits. The person will be dealing with all these issues for all this while, and he is also as a developer by himself. Let's invite Tan Sri Teo on his part. What will be the opportunity on the fully digitalization of OSC? Tan Sri, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tuan Haji. First, I'd like to thank KPKT for their initiative to roll out this digitization of OSC. I think this MCO have put us in clearer realization how important digitization would be. I wish it was already on and running. However, I have my fear that it will take some time to realize this digitization because a lot of computers of different technical departments don't talk to each other in the first place. But we cannot wait because after the devastation of the MCO pandemic on our business, we need to go and quickly get back to work and make sure that we can have a chance to recover and survive. So my point is that while it is good that we continue doing this digitization, but in the meantime, can we look at the existing system, tweak it a bit, and make it more efficient in the meantime before the digitization thing comes through? Perhaps this is a good time to first go back to the principle of what is objective of OSC. We started OSC in 2007. The whole idea was to streamline the process and also control timeline. Very important, controlling timeline. And also tracking it and also the accountability of it. That's where the importance of KPI. All good, all very good. The concept is that our PSP, our submitting person, should submit to the OSC Secretariat and for the OSC to distribute to all the technical departments. And they manage the timeline. And the important feature is they are supposed to come back within 14 days. But whether they come back within 14 days, it was supposed to be, if they don't come back within 14 days, means there is no objection and it should proceed for approval process. This is my understanding of the whole OSC. The other objective of the OSC was that we put more responsibility on the submitting person and to go towards a more prescriptive and compliance system instead of apply and approve system. This is what I understand was OSC. So that even a CCC, the Certificate of Completion, is to be issued by the PSP. So all in all, I think the original OSC 1.0 is already a very great concept if implemented properly and faithfully. But unfortunately, we have this problem that in order not to start the clock ticking, suddenly a pre-consult thing was introduced, so that before you can submit, you must do all the pre-consulting. Now in 3.0 plus, you have changed the name now to data collection now. My fear is that the data collection is good, but again, there is no timeline. So the problem is, how do we introduce timeline in the data collection and who to monitor it? So that's the important part. But principally, I say all the utility companies should be providing us utility on demand and not for us to beg for the utility. Basically, it is business to them, and we are creating customers for them. So they should be the one, their key performance index should be to be able to provide the utility you need on demand. I think that is the principle we should work at, and not for us to go and lay 5 kilometers of pipes or lay 10 kilometers of cable. But this has become a very common thing, because the infrastructure, therefore, is not paid by the utility company, it's paid by us. And this becomes self-serving. More and more will demand more and more infrastructure to be built by you, thinking that developer is a fat cat, they can afford it, but truly, it goes into the consumer in the house price. So now, this is where I think we need some rethinking here. The other problem with pre-consult and also technical consultation after submission is that the number of times you have to go back and forth. So that is something which your system, when you redesign it, have to take care of, right? At the moment, a lot of times, the 14 days is breached. Actually, a developer will be so happy it's 28 days. The problem is, once it's breached, because of our good nature and our mutual respect, the OSC will not still consider the plan. Although it is clear that if they don't come in with their comments, it is deemed no objection and you should proceed for approval. So these are the little things we need to tweak to make it possible to get it moving along the timeline. And I agree that the 3.0 plus is an improvement. Digitalization will be the icing on the cake, but we cannot wait. We have to really now tweak the existing system first and make sure it works. And we hope that all the PPD will go back to work as soon as possible, because the CMCO allow you to go back and operate 100%. So to say that we can't go back to work, we must wait for digitization, will be not acceptable solution for us. So I think at the end of the day, talking about the validity of plans that has been approved, instead of having us to go and reapply, pay enormous fees for reapplying for extension, just like tax department, they just add on the number of days of MCO for validity. I think that's the easiest way to extend the validity of what has been approved. So all in all, I'm hoping that all stakeholders will buy in the development to speed up development at this crucial state after this pandemic. Is so crucial to rebuild our business, to make sure that there will be no more additional unemployment, and also that our country economy gets back to a start. This is my hope, and these are my comments after listening to all the three presenters. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tan Sri. I think Tan Sri has made a very, very good point. At the end of the day, the system is there. I think it is the time that to let the system and look for, especially looking for the investor and looking for entire whole sector of the construction segment. And let's not wait long longer, and let's go into the next session, which is the question and answer session. For the question and answer, first I have the question from Dr. Mowena. The question is, structure plan and local plan. Strategic planning of infrastructure should be developed alongside to assist other development. Thus, could provide the necessary data for any development to plan. At the moment, this data is easily available. Coordination by local authority required. At the moment, TMB, storage infrastructure, water supply, road network are individually organized. Consultants need to know even before planning and design as part of feasibility study. Until then, OSC may have problem to approve the proposal. This question, any direction towards coordination agency with the updated data? Perhaps Zam, you have any, during the discussion with all the agencies, any of this kind of thing has been discussed with all the technical agencies?
Thank you, Haji Samsul. Actually, generally, I very agree to that question. Actually, almost every single state in our country have been gazetted the local plan, especially, and also the structure plan. And the content of structure plan or local plan is to facilitate all the technical requirements, such as the zoning, the numbers of parking that to be provide, the density, the floor ratio, all the setback requirement, all those is important to those that submitted or preparing the plan toward the local authority. But in terms of the information that has been provided by the utilities agencies such as TNB, water service provider, and so on, as the Haji Bashir said, it cannot be established or cannot be committed in long term in terms of validity, because our development is very progressive. When we put it on the local plan, maybe for another 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, the numbers of unit or the numbers of capacity, the numbers of volume will be changed. Therefore, the utilities information can be relied when we put in the local plan or structure plan. Therefore, I'm very agree with Haji Bashir. If our strategic agencies such as TNB and water service provider can provide also extensively also proposal before I repeat back. The TNB, the water service provider, actually they have to provide all the data, all the information that are important to the designer in terms of to update the validity of the information. Therefore, I don't know how they are going to do. Either there is incurred any cost or any payment to subscribe the data. It is depend to the statutory or to the rule of the utilities company concerned. But I do believe that this can be done. And if this can be done, actually is very, very good and very helpful to those, as Haji Bashir mentioned, in order to get the latest up-to-date data before submitting the plan to the local authority.
Haji Samsul, can I add to that? I think the question is valid. I think when we talk about digitalization, we have to look at it more globally and bigger picture. I think what I have been mentioning for many times, that we must have the master plan, the services master plan, the infrastructure master plan, and even the road network master plan, so that even if we do not, it's not easy for us to include in the local plan, but if we have we can have the standalone water supply master plan network, for example, or the electricity master plan, infrastructure master plan, so that whenever the developer want to develop any plot of land, they know where what are the capacity available for the area, or they also will know that when is that area is going to be provided with such a utility. So that's why I think it's very important to have this master plan, including the road network as well. Okay.
Thank you, Dato, for the add-on this particular area. All right, Jizam, another questions from the ground. Okay, this is the question regarding the KPKT encouragement for all the local government, local authority to start work. But is it applied to all the other service provider and technical agencies? Because the questions come like this. Can we request online consultation with WOMBA during CMO or CMCO rather than waiting for rejection? State WOMBA said there is no direction from Putrajaya. Jizam, well, since WOMBA is also under KPKT, any of this we could know on this matter?
Yeah, this is regarding whether the office, the government office can be operate as good as when the CMCO take into place. That as suppose all the construction industry can be carried out again. Actually, there is a direction from the government, from the federal, by the KPPA, Ketua Pengarah Perkhidmatan Awam, that all the necessary department, all the essential department have to resume back. But of course, they have to follow all the SOP that have been provided by the KKM or whatever, SAIDB, and also the DOSH. That's why we don't have excuse to close or to not to attain any dealing or any consultation from the customer to the any agency, department agencies. Yes, when the CMCO have been start, concurrently the government department also have to start again.
Right.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks, Cik Zam, on the explanation. All right, the next question actually it is also regarding to WOMBA, but the question asked by a pegawai WOMBA. All right. Question one to the panelists. Kalau tiada drawing untuk di-endorse, katakan semua di talian, bagaimana WOMBA nak buat rujukan semasa inspection CCC, fire certificate, kebakaran atau operasi kecemasan, siasatan kebakaran, pihak lain untuk rujuk insurans dan lain-lain. Okay, this is the first question. Okay, question number 2. Apa perancangan ahli panel untuk membolehkan semua agensi teknikal tidak perlu semak plan bangunan atau endorse plan, that is kuasakan self-regulatory seperti negeri lain, contohnya Singapura. Question number 3. Apa yang dinyatakan oleh Engineer Bashir amat bagus sekali. Kalau boleh biar semua plan yang dihantar agensi teknikal tidak perlu komen. Ulasan that is plan 100% compliance with UBPL. Realiti sekarang, banyak plan yang dikemukakan oleh PSP ataupun SP, benda basic UBPL pun banyak tidak comply. Apa pandangan ahli panel dalam isu ini? I believe this will be specifically to Dato' Izumi and also Engineer Bashir.
So I will take the first one. The first one because I mentioned about online submission. Online submission, you don't actually need things. Okay. Then the pegawai bomber asked the question: how are you going to endorse? You check and for the operation, the firefighting or fire rescue operation. So this is where actually we have visited a few other countries In fact, when we visited Auckland City Council, we went together with the bomber officer also. So we have seen how they leverage on digital system. So whenever they go for inspection, they bring the iPad or they bring the tab. So everything was keyed in and recorded in the system in the iPad. When they went back to the office, they just upload all the data to the computer, or even at the site. Actually, they can transfer the data directly to the office server. So what we need to change actually the way we are doing things. For example, even to the most critical situation when you want to go for fire rescue mission, okay, you can imagine if we submit hard copy when fire happen, can you find the drawing or not? You will not be able to find the drawing, okay? But it's a lot easier if all these fire rescue mission be supplied with iPad, for example, or any form of a digital technology that they can, during the discussion for operation mission, they can open the file, any plan, any drawing, any floor, any section of the building. If all the digital information is available in the cloud, for example. So at the rescue mission, you can also have access to it. Okay, so this is a example how actually it's more useful and easier to use the information in digital system rather than hard copy. You imagine if you have hard copy, you bring to the operation site, the plan got burned, and that's the only copy you have. So that's why I say we have to change the mindset, okay? Or exposed to water or whatever. So this is reality what happened. I know that a lot of building, okay, when we ask where's the plan, the maintenance team actually spoiled the drawing already. We don't have any more copy. That's the reality today. So we have to change the way we work. And the other one, that how to approve the building plan without being checked. I think this is what the government really need today. In fact, we have the high level discussion also. I think to recover from this MCO and post MCO, you have to do things fast. I just showed the statistic just now. 15,000 project is still now still in the process, and we have 9,700 that now affected. Can you imagine after the MCO, after another 4 weeks, if you mix this number, 16,000 projects actually affected. And can we process that within 1 or 2 weeks? So we have to change the way we do things. I would like to suggest that probably in the next 1 year or 2 years, we should implement a total self-regulation, for example. When the PSP and SP submit the plan, they make declaration, I will be responsible for this plan, and we don't have to check. If we need to do, we just randomly check. Similar like what tax system, tax declaration. I declare, I pay tax for this amount. They will audit your declaration letter. So if they found that you do not do a proper declaration, they will fine you, charge you later. So that's why it can be, the government managed to collect your money very fast. So I think the similar system for the benefit of the development growth, I think we have to look into it. Maybe for the start, we just implement this probably for 1 year or 2 years until everything recovers. And if it is properly done, it can be done properly, it can be the system of the future. So what we need to do, random audit or audit later, and if we have any complaint, whatever, we can audit the declaration. So I think this is something which is radical in terms of doing it, but please do not forget, the engineer has been doing it for a long time. The structure drawing submitted by the engineer, just submit for record, automatically approved. They don't need the approval from the local authority. But why for some architecture drawing, some other drawing, you still need to check, you comply with the color code? Because I think the biggest problem in the submission of architecture drawing is that the matters of preferences. Some people, because when they appreciate the beauty of the building, the design of building in different manner, different preferences. So that's why it's never ending debate about I like this design, I don't like this. So that's why I think to avoid that, we should test the system now, let the professional do it, but we will audit the professional. That is my recommendation. regarding the self-regulation and self-approval, what was suggested by the bomber officer just now. I think the third question, maybe Ajib Bashir, you can continue with to respond to the third question.
Okay, basically, I think Dato' Izumi already answered most of the thing. Regarding the question, if let's say we don't have a pre-consultation or discussion with the officer before we do the submission, how to make sure that the submission is proper. Actually, this is actually mindset or the culture. The culture always says that, okay, if you want to do something, you must discuss first, you must see them first, see the officer before you do the submission, so that whatever submission must be in order. So what we have to do now, as what we mentioned by Dato', if let's say, for the structural drawing, okay, no one checked for the structural drawing, which is totally responsible by the engineer. Same goes to the other drawing also. Now we are talking about self-regulation. Okay, if anything happen, any failure, the engineer should be responsible. So let the engineer decide. Let the engineer come up with the drawing. The authority direct just give us the guideline, what you want, what should be done. That's all. The rest, just leave it to the engineers or whoever the designer to complete the submission, and also to make sure that whatever they design, their responsibility, that they're responsible 100%. So that is my point of view. Because all the while we are talking about, if this, we cannot do this, we can't do that. So it's a mindset. Let them do first. Let them prove that they can do it. Then only you can comment on that. Thank you very much.
May I come in? This is where we are saying, I am proposing that instead of pre-consult or data gathering, we put it after submission and have the process there, so that there is a time control there. At the moment, we just put before the submission, there's no time control, no jury to control it, no OSC secretary to control it. So we can live with a pre-consult, or we can live with data gathering, but so long somebody is overseeing it and controlling time. The other thing is that if we have clear guidelines that is not subject to different interpretation by different people, life will be possible, right? And I think Dato' Architect's proposal that you do by audit is just like our management. It's management by exception. Only when there's exception, we can point it out. We can go to the technical department and say, ini boleh tak? But in the normal course, where you are following all the regulation, there should not be any need to go and do pre-consult. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this is just one of the information to all the attendees and also the panelists. This is information regarding a payment. Nurli is mentioning, actually, Majlis Perbandaran Sumberdaya is already doing online payment. Well, I believe, we hope that more and more local authority are exercising the online payment also in future. Okay, next question from Padro. Engineer Bashir highlighted, OSC just accept the application like a postman. My question is, how do you define a good process? Checking is not a good process. If misuse of power is an issue, PSP should come forward by lodging a report. That is better because it helps the person and organization involved, improve, and getting better. I appreciate you would like to add on the statement from that. Yeah.
Okay, what I've been highlighted just now is actually not to say that the OSC no need to check the drawings. Okay, based on the diagram which I mentioned just now, we don't want the frontliner to reject the submission. Okay, like for example, like manual submission. Over the counter, when the submitting person submit the plans, the officer in the counter itself check the drawing thoroughly on the design and so on, so that the problem is, by right, they should refer to the officer in charge, the person who checked the drawing. For example, like a building plan or engineering plan, they should go to the back office to check the drawing. But the problem is, what happened over the counter, They check, sometimes they check the coloring, they check all this kind of thing, the dimension and so on. They reject first. So once they rejected the drawing, so the submission cannot be done. The clock is not clicking yet. So if things happen few times, maybe take about a month to submit a submission. So what my suggestion is, by right, they should check the bundle. Okay, what I mean is the bundle, for example, they have the checklist. Okay, you must make sure that you have 3 sets of drawings. You must have the salinan cukai pintu, whatever things, so you have the checklist. You just make sure that you follow the checklist, you accept the drawings. After that, the officer will go through the drawings thoroughly and give only one time of comments. We don't want, after we submit and then come with new comments and keep on going until the submission takes about months and years. So this is the issues. All right, thank you very much.
Can I comment on this e-payment?
Sure.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of e-payment that is not true e-payment in practice by many agencies and departments. A lot of departments says, oh, we are online for payment, but first you open an account with us, then you prepay your money inside this account, then you can draw from that account to pay. This is not prepayment, this is not e-payment. So we are interpreting it differently. Just like OSC, why should I submit all my my electronic plan to the OSC? For OSC to look at it for 3-4 days, then only tell me, okay, now you can submit 10 copies of hard copy. This is not computerization. So this is why I say a lot of people boast that they got online banking and online payment, but it is a hybrid, which is not true. So we have to be honest with ourselves. That's the important part. Yeah.
Thank you, Tan Sri, for the explanation. As what Tan Sri is saying, that is definitely not an e-payment. That is just basically a prepaid. And we all know that all the fees and contribution is just not 1,000, 2,000 is quite a huge number.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely we will hopefully Pemudah and the working group can really working together with KPKT and other agencies and look into this in a much more thorough format. All right, this is another question from the ground. Is there any improvement on KM and BP concurrent submission? For example, in Majlis Perbandaran MPK is Majlis Perbandaran Client. Even though submit KM BP concurrent, but the process is not concurrent. BP will only process after KM. So can combine or not, maybe only one time comment and support letter from a technical department. Cik Zam, could you just enlighten us in this concurrent submission for KMBP?
Yeah, thank you, Haji. Actually, this kind of type of concurrent submission or simultaneously submission have been start since the introduction of OSC. Even since 2007, that this concurrent submission has been taken into place. It's not only for planning permission and building submission, but also we are collectively or concurrently can submit with the road and drainage, even with the land matters in terms of in order to get the approval fast from the local authority and also from the land office. So the way or the process of processing, actually yes, where the submission is concurrently or simultaneously, local authority have to process it simultaneously and concurrently accordingly. But in terms of to issue the approval, of course, according to the law, the planning permission have to get the approval first, and then only the building plan can be approved. It's not like after 1 month later then building plan have to approve. No, if the planning permission is stable on the first agenda of the OSC meeting, let's say planning permission first on the first agenda of on the Jabatan Kuasa OSC, and then the agenda number 2 is the building plan. So Therefore, what I meant is the approval can be done in one day, but we have to ensure that the planning permission have to table and consider first before the building plan. That is the way that we are promoting, we are encouraging the local authority to carry it out. Yeah.
Can I add, Ji Samsul?
Sure, Dato'.
Okay, related to simultaneous submission, especially for planning LBP, simultaneous submission, in some local authority, actually, they already practice that whenever they receive the building department and relevant technical agency and department will check and will do the checking for both building plan and planning concurrently. However, when it comes to the approval, if let's say they manage to clear the building plan earlier, they will hold until the planning is approved. But the question by the industry now that some technical agency and local authority, they say they will not process until the planning is approved. But one of the reasons why they say they don't want to waste their time processing the building plan and later the planning do not approve, then they waste their time. I think that shouldn't be the attitude. What we have to do, like when it was submitted concurrently, then it has to be processed concurrently. So then the approval letter, let's say if the process for building plan finished earlier, completed earlier, then wait for the planning to be tabled and then it can be tabled together. So like what Encik Zamisa mentioned just now, but do not wait for the process to complete in consequence one by one. Otherwise, after the planning approval, then they have to wait for the building plan approval.
May I also ask for clarification from Encik Zamizan? Now once everything is cleared, you go to OSC committee meeting. OSC committee meeting approves it. Then you got to queue up to go to the council meeting. The council meeting approves it. But the approval letter cannot come out until the next month where the minute is confirmed. Then only the letter comes out. And the letter comes out 14 days after the minute is confirmed. So how do we shorten this? How do we shorten this process?
Okay, Tasri. Actually, for those that the ordinary fixed committee in the local authority, which is formed by the section 28, as I did mention in my presentation. Yes, let's say jawatan kuasa kewangan, jawatan kuasa lalu lintas, jawatan kuasa alam sekitar, jawatan kuasa kewangan dan pengurusan am. Yes, that one is any decision made by those jawatan kuasa have to table again in the musyawarah penuh for the final approval. But this is not happen when we talk about jawatan kuasa OSC. When the cabinet on 2007 made a decision that to form the OSC in every single PBTs in our country, yes, the cabinet has been agreed. This jawatan kuasa OSC is very special jawatan kuasa, special committee. That actually they decide that Majlis Penuh have to endorse. No. The Majlis Penuh berturun kuasa kepada jawatan kuasa OSC to coordinate or to consider all the plan without refer back to the Majlis Penuh. Actually, jawatan kuasa have a full power to endorse, to make a decision without table again in Majlis Penuh. That was the decision by the cabinet in 2007. Therefore, there is no PBT will doing that. That issue supposed not to rise again in the process of consideration approved plan in jawatan kuasa OSC.
Yeah. But worst of all, even worse is that you table at the Majlis full council. The councillors add on new conditions.
No, cannot.
So
they are
we
cannot.
Back to square one. That is the pain we are suffering at the moment.
Yeah. At least Tan Sri give us the list that which PBT have doing that, so we can take the suitable action toward the PBT lah.
Tan Sri can mention it now.
Sorry?
But if can I add also, the jawatankuasa OSC also doesn't have the quorum, which means there is no ahli majlis in the jawatankuasa 80, the compulsory attendant. If the jawatankuasa OSC running without attendance of ahli majlis, it can be running, cannot be stopped. That's why jawatankuasa OSC is very special and very powerful in terms of consideration the development plan.
Okay. Is it possible for KPKT to reinforce this by renewing the powers and informing all the PPT?
Yeah, Tan Sri, I thought
Remind them.
PPT. Yeah, correct. Can. But I thought every single PPT are doing that. But when today I get from your remark from your issue, actually they have, still the issue is still happening on the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Thank you, Chizam. Okay, this is from, I believe that is an architect. It's a bit far from us. This is from Labuan. It's just a recommendation. Please don't forget Labuan. Even though Labuan also a wilayah persekutuan, but lots of things is not extended to Labuan. For example, CCC. We are still applying OC instead of CCC, but the time frame for us to deliver vacant position is still the same. However, normally it takes more than 3 months to obtain the OC. It is very unfair to us. Perhaps we are the focus group and also the team can also take it from here. Yeah. All right.
I would jump in first with my grievances. First, it's not only Labuan covering this issue. I think if I'm understanding OSC is that CCC is to go, issued by the PSP, but somehow we have to go through this process of asking all the technical departments to come and inspect. Actually, it's the same as the old system, and actually we added one more step. Last time, after all the inspection, the municipality will issue the CF. Now, after all the inspection, we have to wait all the clearances. Then the architect got the guts to sign the CCC. So actually, it's one more step extra. But my understanding is that, yes, there's a right for the municipality, a technical department to come and inspect. But they must inspect within the 14 days. If they don't come to inspect or they do not choose to come to inspect, means they don't need to inspect. But that is not the case. Somehow we still got to wait for the inspection. 14 days, 40 days, or whatever it is, they have to come and inspect. Is that right, Dato' Azumi?
No, there's some clarification on that. For the PBT, the compulsory clearance letter that you must receive is from the engineering department with regard to the road and drainage. But there is a deeming process. If after notification, after 14 days, if there is no inspection, no clearance letter, so it deemed that clearance is given to you. So the architect can issue the CCC with or without the clearance letter after 14 days. However, for other technical agencies and utility provider like the TMB, water utility provider, storage services, and also DOSH, you still need the clearance letter from them. So these technical agencies sometimes the one that give a problem because the PSP cannot issue the CCC without the clearance letter. But for the PBT, you don't need the clearance letter from building department, from landscape, from planning department. What you need is only for road and drainage from engineering department. So with or without clearance letter from PBT, other department, you still can issue the CCC. Okay.
Tan Sri, I just want to add something because regarding the other department, actually there is a culture. Okay, culture been doing for many years. I've been informed by some PBTs. They said the architect or engineer itself asked them to come for inspection. So this is also another issue. All right, if everybody understand their responsibility, without the clearance letter from other department except this engineering department, the architect can always issue the CCC, no problem. Okay, so as we know that they only have 6 departments which we need the clearance letter. Other than that, you no need to worry. you still always can go for OSC. The only thing, some PBTs, it should also happen on the ground. Without other clearance letter, they don't want to accept the CCC. It's very simple. As far as we already issued the CCC, whether the PBT want to accept or not is up their problem. Okay, so we can proceed with occupy the building. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I show the figure just now, Haji Samsul. If you remember the figure I showed just now, 9,090 projects actually now at the CCC stage processing. Because from the Board of Architects also, we received some complaint that some local authority, they refuse to accept the CCC deposited by the PSP. They say because the local authority have not inspected.
Yes.
But very clear under the regulation, under the law, it is not required. So the moment that PSP issue the CCC, then they have to accept it. So it's up to the local authority if they want to go for the inspection letter. So or they want to go before, but they cannot withhold the issuance of CCC unless if the notice of non-compliance was issued prior to the issuance of CCC. And there are many style has been practiced on the ground. I know that some PBT now say that you submit CCC to us without date. After we visit, then only we will chop date on your certificate. Wrongdoing. It cannot be practiced like this. Okay, so there are many ways. The authority try to go around it, but please remember the person who is going to responsible for the CCC is the PSP and SP. So, but all the inspection actually can always be done prior to the issuance of CCC, and it is not compulsory. It's just a random or inspection for enforcement purpose. Correct.
Yeah, Tan Sri, if I can add some, if I can add some information. Yeah, as I did mention before. Actually, yes, I agree with Dato' Izumi and also Encik Bashir and also Tan Sri. Actually, when since the PSP have been issued or has been signed the Form F, the CCC, there is no more argument by the authority or by any technical agency. Yes, that is agreeable. That was what the requirement by the UBBL and also by the Act. But I on behalf of KPKT also always advise the all authority, all the agency, if you want to make inspection, you have to use the section 22, 23. This inspection must be carried out before the CCC has been issued by the PSP. Yes. On that time, if any found of contradiction, if any found of misprov the plan of approved by the local authority, yes, you can issue the written direction. You can issue of the to tahan CCC, all that. But that must be carried out before the CCC have been signed by the PSP. That one can, but after the CCC have been issued, you have no choice. You have to accept it and as it is. Yeah.
Okay. That's good news.
Thank you, Jason, for the additional explanation. Okay, this is also regarding the inspection daripada pegawai perkhidmatan. Alright. Okay. Bila random inspection dibuat selepas CCC dikeluarkan dan didapati bangunan tidak comply dengan standard UBBL, adakah bangunan perlu ditutup operasi atau diroboh? Dan apakah tindakan kepada PSP sekiranya bangunan yang dibina tidak menepati bylaw? Because we all understand that once all the drawing will be approved based on the UBBL bylaw and all the approval, but somehow the building is not built according to the approved building plan. So in this manner, if let's say the PSP is still go ahead and issue the CCC, is there under the law, is there any action to be taken towards the PSP? Perhaps Dato' Izumi from the market side, any on this to enlighten us?
Yes, there are two issues here. So let's say after issuance of CCC, actually after issuance CCC, the local authorities they can inspect, but they cannot revoke the CCC or they cannot withhold the issuance of CCC. But the inspection can be done. So let's say the building plan approved for 2-story shop house, and then when you visit the site, it is 3-story, not 2-story. There are two actions. The first action, okay, can be done is to the building owners. Because as a building owner, they know that they want to build 2-story, they got approval for 2-story, why you construct 3-story. The project owner, the building owner is the first person who are responsible. The next person who is responsible is the architect for force declaration. Because when you issue CCC, you make a declaration saying that I hereby certify that the building was constructed as per the approved plan and in accordance with all the statutory requirements. But if the plan approved 2 and the contractor construct 3 stories, the owner also want 3 story, then you declare, yes, I follow the 2 story. That is false declaration. Then action can be taken. Okay, and severe penalty for that, for false declaration, and you can go to jail as well. And the same thing, local authority also under the Street Drainage and Building Act, there are provision for the local authority to take action against the building owner, the project owner. If you got the approval for 2-story, why you construct 3-story? And the local authority can also take action against the architect in the case of this false declaration. So both actually implicated, okay, for the false declaration. So it doesn't mean that once you issue the CCC, okay, all your cheating are covered. No, that's not true. Local authorities, they can come after you if you have done the false declaration.
Thank you, Dato'. Okay, we have a ground here on the ground with saying defending on behalf of the local council. Cik Kamrul Zaman saying that telah banyak penambahbaik di peringkat PBT. Persoalan utama, adakah PSP komited dengan peraturan dan kaedah sedia ada? Kenapa PBT banyak komen? Sebab PSP tidak mematuhi keperluan teknikal. Sebagai contoh, kegagalan mematuhi setback, keperluan menyediakan TIA tidak dipatuhi, alasannya klien atau pemaju suruh submit juga. Sepatutnya keadaan ini tidak patut berlaku. So on this statement, perhaps Dato' or Tan Sri or Engineer Bashir want to say something on this?
Okay, I start first. Then maybe Dr. Izumi will continue. Okay, regarding this mention about TIA, it's more on engineering work. Alright, it's very simple, very clear. If let's say we have a proper guideline saying that when you do the submission for R&D, okay, you need to get the TIA. It's part of the submission. So when you submit through OSC, so make sure that this TIA or RSA put in the checklist. Alright, so put in the checklist. So that means when the submitting person, before they go for submission, they receive the checklist, they know that, okay, by hook or by crook, without this RSA or TIA, the plan will never approve. It's very straightforward. So they will go back to the client saying that, all right, I will go for the submission. Perhaps I must get this TIA and RSA complete by the third party, okay, third party consultant. They will prepare all these things. Then whatever comment in TIA or RSA will put in together in our submission, and we submit together to the local authority, to the PBTs, so that when the officer in charge check the drawings, everything is complete. So easy for them to go for the approval. But the problem is, this is a very subjective, all right? Some authority, they say, okay, you must go for RSA. Some say no, okay? We don't have a proper standard guideline. This is what happened on the ground. There is the issue of the submitting person. Different authority have different way of doing things. So my suggestion is very simple. You should put a proper guideline. If let's say certain development you need TIA, you spell out properly. Okay, what type of development? more than 50 acres, more than 10 acres or whatever. You just put in the guideline. When you do a submission, straight away together with this TIA. Same go to the RSA. All right. So if things not clear, that's why the submitting person or submitting, the client or whoever, the developer will take opportunity. Try first, submit first, whether the authority approve or not. Because for information, to prepare this TIA, RSA, it's a cost. It's not cheap. For example, RSA, from RSA 1 to RSA 6, you need about more than 50K to prepare the documents. Same goes to BIA. So that's why if you don't have a proper guideline, proper checklist, that's why try and error is happen on the ground. Okay, so that is my comment on that. So the rest I will leave it to Dato' Azumi.
And I remember what Bashir mentioned is true. I remember when we visit Taipei in Taiwan, the Taipei City Council, they mentioned to us that the reason why they can progress very fast, one of the key principle in their local authorities that we do not implement grey regulation. They say that the regulation has to be black and white. If it is stay in grey area, we will go first. We do not implement, because the moment you implement the grey regulation, then the benefit will be to other people, not to them. So, for example, just now, if the regulation or guideline on the setback is not clear, that's the reason why sometimes developer, they just want to try and error because there is no cost to them. How to prevent this? Because just now I think the participant who asked the question, what are the commitment of the PSP to prevent for submitting try and error like this? So I think the regulation is very clear. We have the law that whenever you submit the plan fees you submit for building plan, you have to pay plan fees. Planning, you have to pay plan fee. The reason why there's a plan fee to cover the cost by the by the local authority for processing the plan. So if the plan submitted was rejected, and then they have to resubmit again fresh, they have to pay. The submitting person and the project owner has to pay again. So if local authority impose these conditions strictly, and then all this try and error can be avoided. It's not just that local authority do not like to process the try and error plan beyond the setback. Even the PSP also, we do not like to submit such plan because we know that 50-50 chance. If it is rejected, we have to do the work again and again, and there is no additional fee for that. So that's why it's very important if the local authority is very strict in implement this, and then the PSP and also the project owner, they will understand. They understood that, okay, if we submit and then the plan is rejected, and then we have to pay a new plan fee for the new submission. So we have to practice that. But in the first place, you must have the regulation guideline very clear. Do not implement grey. If grey, then people will try to challenge, try and error. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Izumi. Okay, this is also a question from architect Kwek Chai Kim. Can OSC allow PSP to send drawing directly during the CMCO period for their comment for approval? Bomba can't accept the plan from architect without the letter from OSC. It will cut short the unnecessary time deal through the OSC. Jizam, any on the guideline or space stated on this?
Yeah, actually, it depends on what is the set of the plan that is submitted to the local authority or Bomba. If the building plan, yes, you have to submit to the local authority, and then the local authority will distribute to the relative or the related agency. But for the utilities plan, such as for let's say for TNB, the detailed utilities plan, you can submit directly to the TNB. It same goes to the for Bomba, for especially for active set of plan. You can actually direct submit to Bomba without through the OSC office. That is what we set up in the manual OSC 2.0 plus is to reduce the number of transaction, to reduce the transaction between PSP and OSC. You can go direct to the relative agency.
Okay, thank you, Jizam. All right, okay, and then also this is one of the example also from Architect Quack also. OSC and PBT refuse to accept Borang F or CCC without YDP sokongan surat after CCC inspection. This has created a problem on the date of VP. I think this is something that perhaps KPKT also can take this also one of the issue that what happened on the ground to make to improve it later. All right. The next question is from I think this is from Architect Zamri. Is there any plan to implement BIM model submission AI processing in near future, as implemented in Singapore, where all the compliance can be pre-checked and compliance checking and report generated by AI BIM software, and the compliance report generated by BIM and endorsed by PSP before submitting for validation and recorded by local authority when approval is granted upon submission and validation. This is also going toward the self-checking and self-regulated by PSP. Any of the planning on this, on the AI processing and compliance?
Can I respond to that, Haji Ahmad?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. First, I think what the topic that we want to discuss now, there are two parts. The first part, basically, a quick fix under this MCO and post MCO. Okay, how to take the advantage of a digital system. For example, to find the question that can I send the plan directly to Bomber instead of OSC? I think we can take advantage of online submission or even soft copy. So this is what we want. What Architect Zamri mentioned, the BIM submission and auto check system, yes, it has been tried. I said it has been tried in Singapore, yes. Okay, they already implement the BIM submission in Singapore, but the auto check in Singapore is yet 100% workable. So we visited the system, we have seen the system, the Connect system in Singapore. So yes, it is good. It's something that we want in future, but I think it is still not viable for us to implement now in the country, in our country. One of the reasons is because our regulation is very scattered at the moment, because you need to program all the regulation requirement into the system, then only the AI system can check whether you comply to this and that. I have seen how the system in certain instances, actually the system is not smart enough to differentiate between a door and a window. So how can, for example, in case of emergency, if the system cannot differentiate, I'm not talking about the full-blown system, but the system that has been developed by a party can't even differentiate between this and this. And then you want to impose regulation, because the system, the AI system must understand fully the regulation. Then only you can build the regulation into the checking system. So I think it's very far ahead, far away from us to be to that point. At the moment, I think what we have to seriously look at now is the urgent needs for us to get things moving. So the issue that we have at the moment, we are not that flexible in terms of physical movement to submit plan for meeting. So that's why we need the digital system. But of course, I know that, for example, CIDB is working on the BIM modeling submission system and auto check system. But let's hope that in future we are going to have a good system on that. But for time being, like what Tan Sri you mentioned just now, we cannot wait for that system to be ready. We must have something in for the moment. Even previously I said that even low-tech system, not so high-tech system, as long as it is workable. If you can submit by email to Bomber, for example, then just do it. Okay, if then what we need to do is to have a policy, internal policy, for example, among the technical agency and the local to say that under the current situation, if it is not possible to submit hard copy, we should accept the submission through Google Drive, through email. This is a simple policy just to make things work at the moment. This is what we need. In future, of course, we want to have that perfect system of auto-checking.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Izumi. Perhaps we take the last question. All right. Let's say an existing building was issued a CCC. Then the owner do renovation to the building, raise up the building height from 7 meter to 14 meter, and change the building function from warehouse to production of gloves. Are the old CCC can still be used, or do we need to reapply from scratch, start from KM? I suppose Tizam or Dato' Izumi can on these questions.
Maybe let me answer first. Yeah, of course, that is very clearly, very obviously that the activity I've been using, have been renovate, of course, is contradict with the current approval. It, of course, obviously not in line with the planning permission first, and then maybe it was not online with the status of land, and also, of course, it will deviate from the building plan. So it's correct. If you want to do any big major renovation like that, you have to start from the zero. You have to scratch back from the zero, especially when we consider it whether the building is sufficient enough in the RC, actually in the engineering. Is it the additional of 7 meters is compatible with the current reinforced concrete that have been submitted earlier? That was a very huge or very major changes from the current situation. Yeah.
Thank you, Shazam.
Maybe
additional.
I just add this little bit. Now a lot of activity, even for small renovation, even your tenant layout has to be submitted for approval. So to add in one more floor, definitely you have to submit lah. But yeah, I'm saying you have gone to the extreme now. Even small renovation, even a small fit out by your tenant, they have to submit. So that's how much control the PPT have now lah.
Yeah, I think I agree with Tan Sri Teo. Yeah, according if you follow the law under Street Drainage and Building Act, you cannot erect or you cannot renovate anything without written approval or written consent from the local authority. That's what the Act says. So when you already issue the CCC, after that you renovate, make the building bigger or add another floor, then basically the CCC is revoked. Then you have to apply for approval again, and of course you are subject to fine charges, okay, for construction without prior approval. And there is also possibility that you may not get approval and you have to demolish that part that you have extended. So local authority has that power to issue demolition instruction or to impose demolition charges. But under this MCO, I just now Tan Sri Teo mentioned about the fit out renovation for small renovation, interior renovation for tenant fit out, for example. I think under the current situation, there will be a lot renovation, interior renovation. First of all, for example, restaurant. Now, because of the social distancing, some partitioning maybe need to renovate, and some restaurant maybe close shop, and then new operator come in, and those who occupy 3,000 square feet maybe now want to reduce to 2,000 square feet. under this pandemic and the impact of MCO and post-MCO, there will be a lot of interior renovation. My proposal, in fact, I have discussed this at Pemudah before, that for such a small renovation, interior renovation work, which does not affect the building structure, does not affect the fire safety aspect, I think we should grant a special approval, at least during this period post-MCO, because we need to generate a very fast business activity. If they have to wait 9 months, 10 months before they can renovate the restaurant, before they can start a new restaurant after the old tenant move out, then it will put a hurdle, slow down the business activity. So that's why my proposal to the government that for this kind of renovation, that does not affect the building structure, does not affect the fire safety issues, should allow them to proceed with the renovation. You prepare the plan, you submit to local authority just for record. No need to wait for approval, and proceed with the renovation. So this is something that I think we should look into, especially during this 1 or 2 years, for us to recover quickly post-MCO. Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that there are now a lot of many ideas of trying to revive the business. For instance, cinema, I can see cinema will not be operating for some time. So can I convert my rooftop car park to be an outdoor cinema, right? For the next 3 months. So don't let me go to all the hoops of KM lah, building plan approval, change of use, kind of thing. Somehow we have to find a way to quickly accommodate such changes without, of course, without compromising safety and all those things, fire safety. We have to find a way to accommodate. Otherwise, you cannot have the business rebuild. You cannot have the economy rebuild.
Yeah,
it's called the new normal.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we're coming to the end of today's session. Just before I ended, just wanted to inform to all attendees, we're going to have the next series of the webinar. The title is Prompt Response to CCC Delivery Process Under the New Normal. The date is tentatively will be on next Monday, and the key point will be focusing on OSC process 3 to process 6 and Master Builders Association of Malaysia and also technical agencies will be invited as a panelist. So please stay tuned for the next webinar from Pemudah. Once again, we are going to have a full online question survey. Please, right after the dates, it will be prompted on your on your screen, and please answer it accordingly. And we are now coming to the end. Perhaps we can get some the closing remark from Dr. Andy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator and the panelists for the good session that you have also given us quite a few ideas. And those ideas, I think Pemudah will take it up, especially those that have been suggested. How do we operate under this new normal? Now, I look at the argument that we have, the OSC 3.0 is still a bit bugged. If you want to go online, we have to be online all the way. All right. We still get local authority and people challenging the purpose of going online all the way, including payment. So it doesn't make sense that we have converted a system from manual format, and then you fill up all the form online, and then thereafter you submit hard copy to follow up. I think this is not a proper online system. So the mindset is that we need to go and change and also go all the way paperless. Now, this is the new normal, but the purpose of today's webinar is actually to also ask the government to complement the private sector in opening up their services so that we can then get back to business. What has been presented on the statistic that has been given by Dato' Izumi is quite frightening. Even before the MCO period, we are already having huge backlog. Can you imagine 9,000 CCC means 9,000 business opportunity, employment, taxes that the government could collect. Private sector could be already starting this 9,000 business, and Malaysia would have been booming with all these 9,000 individual approval. So I think that we all need to understand where the taxpayer, how the taxpayer money is also spent. And I think that this one piece flow, which has been, I heard from Engineer Basil a few times, and also from Dato' Ezumi a few times, is that, yes, we also have to have transparency and within the technical and the government agencies themselves. So we should have more transparency in this area, able to track and trace whatever information that the government already have. There is no need for the principal submitting person or for the private sector to feed you back those information. In fact, you should be making those information transparent to us. For example, those technical data and all that. But having to visit government office today is not the new normal anymore, right? The new normal is that the information are available online. I tap the information. If I need more, then we will deal with it online. All right. I think these are the messages which is very, very, very clear. So we need the state government to buy in. I look at it that the federal government, KPKT, have had these challenges when OSC 1 was introduced. And until today, since 2007, we still have an educational process to be done. Both. One is that the principal submitting person, be it the engineer or the architect, they need to train and groom their young engineer to understand the OSC process. And also, besides being technically competent in their area of work. Whereas for the KPKT, the local council, they need to make the principal submitting person take ownership, because first of all, you are signing off the CCC and your neck is on the line. All right. All the local council and the technical agency needs to do is to check whether you are conforming or not to those regulation and bylaw, which is within their control. Certainly, there is no need for the final part, that's why the final part is the CCC, which I'm very glad that we have broken this seminar into two. The final part is also, I would like somebody also to mention that should the small, medium, and large categories of project share the same scope and time period or not? For renovation, just now was mentioned, right? In this new normal, people are desperate to start business. If anybody can start business, we let them start business because they are creating employment, they are paying taxes, and the country needs this in this moment of time. Then certainly we are against countries that are opening up as fast as us, that they are able to process. For example, Vietnam, they can process the whole process and you can build your building and everything get ready within 5 months. Here, even 5 months in some of the states, I look at it, just now was mentioned, Kota Kinabalu, we have 22 procedures. Kuala Lumpur, we have 9 procedures. OSC 3 is supposed to be 6 procedure. I look at it, procedure 1 is not necessary for you to monitor. All right. It is a preparation stage and should not be counted. Okay, I'm not going into technical on this, but I'm just saying that there are extra works to be done between ourselves. I think it is a learning process. Feedbacks are very important from the public, and we have heard from the public, we have heard from the practitioner, and I would like that the next, this issue of Pemudah will work with the dealing with construction permit with the 2 co-chair and his committee to improve this system as we go along. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you all for spending today a public holiday. Nusa Quran for some of the states having this holiday with us. And thank you, the panelists, for sharing your time, and moderator as well, and the participants. With that, I close my session and pass it on back to the moderator. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Dato' Dr. Engineer NDCO. For this, first, dan berusaha Town Planner Zamrizal Puji, any parting word from you?
It's nothing I have to say much longer, but just to just to maybe to remind us that actually when we are dealing with the construction industry, actually whether you are in the public sector or whether you are in the private sector, actually we are in the same team of the football, at the same team of the soccer. We cannot working separately. You are as a one team, and our aim, our goal is to make a goal as much as we can. So we can work separately, and we can work isolately, and we have to together in order to make our country is much better than right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tizam. Tan Sri, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Teo, any parting words from you?
Well, just thank you for this session. I think it's a good opportunity for us to share our experiences. But my parting word is that the pandemic has damaged a lot of our businesses and our economy, and all of us must work together to now quickly cooperate and pave the way for us to recover. And if not, a lot of us will have problems surviving. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri Teo. Yang Berbahagia Arkitek Dato' Izumi, any final word from you?
Okay, I agree with Tan Sri Teo. I think we need a drastic and radical plan to change the situation. I think we have to face the new normal. We cannot use business as usual anymore. So I think with the limitation to physical movement, I think we really need to look into this digital format of working, whether it's submission or inspection. So in fact, during the MCO, there was a drone used for surveillance compliant to MCO. Maybe this is going to be the future for inspection, compliant inspection, the construction site as well. So I also want to wish a sincere thank you to all the Pemudah and the co-chair, Dato' Andy, and moderator and all the panelists, especially Cik Zamisan from KPKT. And thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to appear in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato'. Last but not least, Engineer Bashir, any final parting word from you?
Okay, as far as my concern, actually this COVID-19 pandemic is an eye opener or brain opener to all of us. Okay, to look forward on new normal, because before this we always talk about physical interaction. Now we are talking about go to the system of digitalization. So this is actually good for all of us, and also with this way forward, we can reduce time, okay, and procedure in dealing in construction permit. So that's all from me, and thank you to all the panelists, all my colleagues today, and also giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge about this DCP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Bashir. And last from me, I would just wanted to say this. Please stay at home and stay healthy, and most importantly, stay productive. Thank you so much, and hope to see you again on next Pemudah webinar series. Thank you, and Assalamualaikum. Salam sejahtera. Bye.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.